or just click the button.
Oh, there we go. Oh, welcome. Sorry for starting late. Welcome to the virtual brown bag. We are just a reminder. This is a general discussion. Any developer is free to join. Talk about anything you want. We each have it at this point. We do it. Sorry, there are two links. One is meeting.virtualbrownbag.com. That's for viewers. Another one you could access by joining our Slack. It's in there, and if you join there, and you're welcome to, you can participate in the meeting and open up your microphone and talk, share stuff, and so on. Just as a side note, remember that everything we do is auto-recorded and streamed to YouTube, so don't share anything. That'll get you into trouble. And yeah, that's it. How's it going?
Good. How was last week? What'd y'all do?
Well, we sat around for a while being like, so how do we start this meeting without doing it? And then we booted up a regular hangout, and what do we do? What do we talk about? Some stuff.
You were talking about how much you hated Install Shield.
I did talk about that a little bit. But not Install Shield.
In what context? Like just installing in general, or?
Well, I just in general, making an installer for Windows is so much harder than you think it is.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, I just need to move some files. It'll be easy. No, it is not. It's not easy at all.
You think it used to be hard. You think it'd make it easy these days with all the new ways to do build.
Yeah.
I remember Click Once Deployment. The idea sounded really great with WPF, but
yeah, that's connected to the internet and so on. That's different from like making an MSI file.
Right. But I was just saying, like, it was one of those similar things from my point of view. That it seemed like it was a good idea, but I remember getting one set up was kind of a pain. But of course, I'm not good at that type of stuff anyway. So
yeah, it was weird. But yeah, that's additional territory that we retread. So I've got a couple things I can share today.
Okay.
I will say I just got this in the mail, a power supply. So now I can generate voltages and amperages of any amount and hook them up to any sort of electronics. And I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but this wasn't like I didn't even know that this existed, and I was watching like the Electro Boom videos, which if you don't watch, everyone should. He's awesome. He's like this electrical engineer. This Canadian guy who's ethnically Iraqi, who's living in Canada, who's an electrical engineer, and he just records these awesome videos where he does like really cool, shows how to do really cool electronic stuff, and the entire time just electrocuting the crap out of himself.
Why is electrocuting himself?
And they're very well produced. Like he's great on camera, so. Yeah.
Huh.
But yeah, he showed him one that he had one of these, and he was like, okay, so I just, I'm gonna check if it's the battery in my phone that's broken or what, or in his laptop. So he ripped out the battery and check what the voltage and amperage on the output on the battery is. Just hooked up one of these things to the leads and cranked it up and see if it would boot up. And I was like, that's awesome. I want one of those. So this was like $60 or something. So,
$60 plus all the man hours, and I would have been like, I'm just going to go talk to the genius.
Well, no, but I mean, I'm going to be like, mess around with it. I don't mess around with electronics a lot, but I would like to more. And I have old phones I can check what exactly. Well, I can check whether it was the battery or not the battery. So do that.
Are you big into like PC hardware stuff?
I'd like to be more.
Okay. I was asked, I'm building a new PC. Like
are you
most of the PCs getting today.
Hey, are you gonna go with fanless or? I really like what's going on in PC hardware in terms of like noise reduction.
Yeah.
Like that is really cool. That's something that like when I built a PC ages ago, it's not a thing.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, now most of the stuff pieces are semi noiseless, or I went with that over other stuff. I went with like reliability and then silence and then awesome power.
Right.
Like so, because sometimes they're like, yeah, you can do this. Have you taken a look at like lately, like because you built your own computers, Seth? George, have you ever built your own PC? I guess.
Oh, I mean, I started like we started the way I when I grew up. Like my dad and I would go to computer fairs, computer shows. Have you guys ever been to them?
No, your
So
game's way cooler than mine.
these traveling events, which would go to a town. They would set up at like a high school gymnasium, and it would just be stall after stall after stall of like little of vendors selling. Like there'd be a guy who'd sell all the cables in the world. Guys selling just random buckets of like motherboards, and then of course like stalls of shareware games and stuff like that throughout the '90s. Yeah, we would go to those all the time, and so yeah, we end up building our a la carte, picking the pieces of your computer, getting home, putting it together.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know if they exist anymore, but
Nah, yeah, they exist. It's called Newegg.
no,
I used them. Price Watch.
You have to be like yelled at by like a series of deeply accented men at stalls, like about for just spending too much time digging through their bins.
Like, are you buy something?
Yeah.
Dude, okay, so one thing I want to bring up with here, let me share this, because is the size of these coolers these days? Look at that CPU cooler. This is no joke. These things are gigantic, or you can get them. Like, it is huge. Like, everything else is going small. And there's, like, air-powered coolers. They're like, dude, if you want to get real, here's this cooler. And you're like, holy crap. So, yeah, so of that discussion, like, so lately there's a lot more, like, like water or liquid cooling was all, I guess, I'm not a huge water fan, so if you use the wrong term, give me a break. You can correct me. But liquid cooling used to be like a really like high-end thing. Like you really need to know what you're doing, and that's like you're trying to get overclock and do all the stuff. Now they have like these prepackaged liquid coolers, which are pretty cool. I don't know if you've seen that before. Let me see. Corsair has some. Yeah, so you can see with these coolers here, see if they go to the next page. They have like a little tiny part, this part right here will go on the CPU, and then you have these radiators and fans which you stick on the case. So let me see. So you can see how that general idea works. So I found that pretty interesting because I was like, oh, that used to be like really, really high end. Like if you want the best performance, go liquid cooling. And these things have come up, and I was like, oh, that's pretty neat. And also the idea that it's a nice contrary to like, okay, the air cooler, like super duper ones are these huge bricks that you're just sticking on your motherboard. Like this is something really small. But the reviews and the numbers that I've seen on this show that it's like not that much better improvement in terms of cooling. In fact, like air cooling does equal, if not better.
$150 is a lot.
Yeah, well, yeah, the coolers are a lot too. I forgot how much the other one. Before we just do some little comparison. I guess we'll have to see where. I'm pretty sure this guy is not cheap, and this is I pointed this out because he's one of the high end ones. But I was just like, the size of this is just ridiculous. But yeah, but I thought that was pretty neat because Seth, I assume like I've been out of the game for a while because the last computer I bought for my PC, this is gonna be a pure gaming fun computer, not for work because work is my all iMac and so forth. But there's certain PC games and things I want to do that I need a PC for, and the one I have is an old Dell XPS that's still awesome. It still does a good job. It's just it's 8 years old now, and while it can play games on like normal or low graphics, it doesn't do the high end and like the streaming and all that stuff that I want to do. So that's my impetus for creating a new machine. And I was doing all this research. So I thought that was pretty neat that you can do the difference. Of that, the brand I've been using, looking at, seems to have awesome reviews, is Noctua. It's like, it's really crazy that a cooler or fan manufacturer is like has as big of a following as it does. Like, so let's see if we can find one of the products. So
Fans.
they make fans, and their design, their coloring is this brown coloring.
People are super cool.
Yeah, you would think like, okay, yeah, like who would be big into, like, it's a fan, it's a case fan or a CPU cooler. What's the big deal? But man, like everybody loves these things. Like it's like glowing reviews everywhere, to the point like insanity of stuff where it's like they don't like the fan color, and so instead of buying another fan, they're like, I'll just paint it. You know, like, dude, that's the amount of effort that goes into painting your fan. Buying a new one doesn't make sense to me.
Well, but it's not. I mean, how are you going to paint it exactly, too?
They went through because you have to get the weights right and use the right paint. Like they have it all laid out, and I was like, look, the amount of effort you're putting into, but that degree is high. Same thing here is like if you look at this cooler, one of the problems was it was so big that it didn't fit on some of them. Well, it fit on the motherboards, but it would block like your RAM. That's why they show like the different. See, they have their measurements, but like these measurements are important. Because like your memory would butt against this fan, and so it wouldn't work. And so their solution was like, well, they like created new ways to mount the fan so that the memory could fit, so that they could keep this cooler. And then again, it's like, y'all are going crazy. So that's what this 15S is for. The whole idea was like, oh, we had a bunch of people that loved the 15, but they didn't like that it blocked some of the memory, so we'll redesign a new cooler around the entire idea that we're going to allow more space here for your memory and stuff. And I'm like, this is kind of weird and crazy, but like I went with them because for some case fans and for the CPU cooler, because I thought, heck, if this is what people are going to the link, it must be really good and they must be really happy with it. So, and it's pretty large. I had to get it.
How loud is it? I guess that's
the thing, is they're really powerful and they're really quiet. That's what people love about it. They're known for their low noise stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah, until they break, and then they just shred through your entire.
Yeah. Our concern is it's so big. It's like when you mount it, like, and you're putting the motherboard sideways, like it just feels like that's so much pressure on that motherboard to keep it up. But they have like a whole bracing frame structure for it.
Oh wait! Oh, it's on the motherboard.
Right.
Oh, that is. Yeah, you would think that wouldn't balance properly as it spins.
Yeah, there's a whole frame thing around how to get it set up. Yeah. But yeah, so that's what I'm learning putting that on there. And you're right, there's all sorts of new quiet. I got this quiet case. Hard drive's no longer a thing. I don't have a disk drive for it. I'm gonna be installing Windows probably today or tomorrow using a USB drive, which I've never done before, so that should be interesting. And it's like I had to buy Windows 10, and I'm like, man, I have to buy it. so gonna be doing that. And then yeah, for hard drives, I don't have them more. So I'm using not an SSD. Like I guess it is SSD, but it's like a new SSD. Let me see if I can get here. Pull it up. Nope, that's not it. I'm looking at another page. So nope. But it uses M2, which is like a new way of. Let's see if this is SSD.
Yeah, I've seen those where like it's a type of. I know that like my Chromebook, a Chrome box that I purchased, like the only connection that it supports is this M2. So they don't have a SATA, which is a little annoying because it's like if you go with SATA, you get so much more compatibility. So there's only these like weird vendors selling M2 SSDs.
Yeah, I'm trying to find out what a good picture for it without showing a bunch of price stuff, because I don't want people to know how much I pay for my computer. sounds weird, but it is not cheap how much I pay for that. Oh, here we go. That's a good picture of it. There you go. So it looks a lot like that. So it's like, dude, seriously? Like, and my friend's built a similar computer, and he was having problems with this actually overheating, and like it does like it does a good job dissipating the heat, and actually will throttle itself if it starts getting too hot. And so someone actually built they found a better way of cooling it. Let me see if I can pull. Oh, here we go. So if you remove the stickers, you sort of see the little chips, and then you can stick these little coolers on them. Let me see. And to me, this is all new stuff that I think I love. I love when people are really passionate about something and or esoteric learning things that you can do, and this is one. So here we go. Here's a good thing. So they have these little coolers that you can just stick. And in fact, if you look here, frequently bought together, those two things. So I was like, oh, okay, that seems pretty cool. And they say from there, like its performance review was always, like, hey, it does really great, but then like when it gets overheated, it goes down, and then it's still good, but it's not great. And the people who said they stuck the little heat sinks on there and stuff, they said that after you put it on there, it goes from it's like great all the time. So yeah, it seems pretty cool. Then getting a 1080 graphics card that's VR ready, quote unquote. So should be fun. Be a neat little computer. Should be quiet-ish and ready for VR Minority Report stuff, right? We've been ready for that since Minority Report came out, right?
Is that what you're going to be doing?
No, I'm not going to be doing it at all.
Come on.
No. But I did learn also. Have you used a 4K monitor? Do either of y'all use 4K monitors?
I've got the Retina on my MacBook. So.
Yeah.
No, but you need the dual DVI. I know.
Well, some people they have the DisplayPort now, like something completely new. It's called DisplayPort. Yeah, I've never seen it. So I'm not going to be doing that for work. So gaming, it doesn't make much sense to do 4K. But I'm just curious what people have been using for work and so forth. Because I talked to a friend, and he actually gave his 4K monitor at work away because of some issues with Outlook and some other apps where it's just like it just looked bad in 4K. Like it was just the fonts were so small, it's hard to use.
Well,
I use a cinema display. It's fine. It's the 2560. It's like 27 inches. I think that's a pretty decent kind of compromise between resolution, because if it's too high, then certain things that aren't optimized don't, like text and stuff can be weird on certain apps. But I think that's pretty good compromise. I think that a 27-inch needs 2560 at least. So that's what I'm using. And then I'm using
I remember that it was like a bigger deal like a year ago. I think most apps should have caught up with it by now. I haven't been hearing as many complaints lately.
Yeah, I mean, and then they also support, you can always scale down the resolution. I don't understand like why that would be an issue. So you can always turn it down to 2560, you turn it down. Right.
But you can't always do it on per app.
Oh, you can't do it per app, but once the global resolution is scaled down, the app doesn't know anything else. It just treats it the same as it would if it was that resolution. So I don't know why, like, it seems like you can't really be you can't get too much resolution because you always have the option of dialing it back. Like, you can dial back your MacBook Retina's resolution if you wanted to. It's not an issue.
Yeah.
Well, he was talking specifically about Outlook and stuff, but he said like Word and some other stuff were fine because they actually had the little zoom scale thing on the bottom left-hand corner, and it made me wonder, and because y'all been the WPF's been out for a while, did they ever rewrite that stuff in WPF, or is it just something different?
No.
They didn't dog food it.
Yeah, I think Outlook has a universal app thing right now, maybe. Maybe I don't take my word for it, but I know Office is its own thing.
Right.
They are not .NET. They're not doing any of that. No,
I thought there was
basic
talk
stuff.
about doing something like that, though. Did they just change their mind, or just never
Well,
did
the
it?
.NET people were talking about them doing it.
Okay.
I don't think the Office people ever had any intention, because I mean they're the cash cow, they're the moneymaker. They get to call their own shots. I don't think they ever had any intention of going .NET.
I'd be kind of curious the work on a team like that for their product. I mean, like you have to consider that how much code is legacy versus rewriting stuff. You think they have a lot of legacy code.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
I'm sure there's all sorts of dragons in that code. Like, don't touch this thing.
Oh yeah. Isn't there still like Windows 3.1 code? And I mean,
Sure.
I'm
I know,
sure.
I'm sure there is like a ton like that, but I mean, Word is an amazing program. Excel is
yeah. I mean,
really-
regardless.
I mean, one of the most impressive programs of all time. Excel. Easily.
Excel. The world runs on Excel.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Like he can. Why? Yeah. Why rewrite it? Why?
I know that's what I'm saying. That's why it'd be an interesting part of it, because it'd be like it's so big, it's so successful. So many people rely on it that and be like, what do you do with that? You know, like
Leave it alone, and you have to pay the like 25 people that can maintain it. You just pay them, $400,000 a year, however much they charge.
yeah, I guess that is the case because like if you're one of the core developers for Excel, they sort of need you, don't they?
Like as a business decision, you don't let those guys go. Like,
Right, you make them like director of R&D, and be like, you just stay here and work on this.
Yeah. We will build a company around where you live. Cool. Oh, anyone else have anything they want to share?
Here, I can share this one other thing too. Let me say, this is what I just learned today, and it's not that crazy complicated or whatever, but well, we learn things. We like to share things. That's what this is all about. So I needed to have an animation that like goes infinitely, and I learned that there's a CSS property called animation and duration count. I was like, oh, it's pretty cool. And all it does is you tell it how many times to run the animation, and it can be infinite, or how many number do you want. And then they also have a animation direction that you can set called alternate, and that means that it will alternate between the two. And a good example, live demo here, here's one, shows what alternate does versus not alternate. So for my thing I need to do, I just need to have something fade in and out infinitely. Plop that in. It was pretty good. At first I had an issue, it wasn't working, is because I was setting animation and setting the name there, and since animation also allows setting of other properties, I think it was messing up some stuff and overriding things. So when I changed it to say animation name, that fixed it. But yeah, so I'm continually impressed with CSS animation, and I love getting better and better at it.
Have you gotten into keyframes yet?
Yeah, keyframes I'm pretty good at and how to set that up. I mean, it's one of those things, like, I'm still novice in CSS animation, but compared, I think, to most people who probably haven't even taken a look at it, I know a lot. So every time I start showing and doing things, people are like, wow, and I'm like, man, I don't know, I barely know CSS animation.
Yeah.
It's just, I've taken the effort to look at it and use it.
Yeah, and I mean the fact that you could do it with keyframes really is, like, I have this on my personal page.
Yeah, let me stop sharing so I can see you. There we
Yeah.
go.
So my about me screen, I wrote this, and then something's. There we go. Yeah. So see, it's just pure CSS. You guys can see it even shrinks or grows.
It's one of those where I think it makes a difference on getting the little subtle things brought in to make a page look better, or it feel better. But yeah,
Yeah.
I wish I was better at it, but I'm still doing my thing.
Yeah, but I mean, like those things, I love that. I mean, this is about how much it took. Like, yeah, that's a lot of fun. Um, Speaking of which, uh, things. Well, I don't know what I'm speaking about. But this is something that caught my eye, and I think this is going to be really cool. Smashing Magazine published an article about this. It's a project called React Native
Native for Web. Yeah, I saw you posted it on the Slack channel.
Yeah.
What's this?
Pretty awesome. Why do you think that it's going to be a game changer?
So, because HTML is crappy. Well, nobody wants to write HTML. Writing a div is dumb. And as much as I kind of like CSS, I do wonder if they're, well, all right. So let's start at the HTML thing. HTML, as it originally existed, as I'm sure you've heard a million times before, or this one was meant to be like a document outlining format for indexes, which is great. But now we're using it as a application system, and it's there is a mismatch there where we're kind of having to like figure out new conventions and so on and so on. So, at the same time, you've got like mobile UI frameworks, which have stuff like web and text box and stuff like that, which were defined from scratch to be for application. So what I think is a big deal is that React Native allows you to take that and bring it to the web. Nice side benefit is it makes it very easy to convert between a web application and a native application, but that's not the part that's like most impressive to me. I just think that there's a lot more we can do once we actually start thinking about things as as they are. Sorry. We start thinking of things as a web application framework. In addition to that, there's a couple. I kind of like how they're doing styles. So.
Well, that style, that's a React Native convention.
Right. I kind of like it. So there's a couple things. First of all, this actually segues a lot with the predictions I've been making lately. So I just published to my blog one set of predictions that, and I think we talked about this. Maybe not, but I published this to my blog about that I think kind of XHTML might make a comeback, but we won't have to worry about it. This segues super nicely with that. One of my other upcoming predictions is that there's going to be some sort of CSS JavaScript hybrid styling layer that'll come to the fore, which will allow us to do some of the stuff that we've been missing out on that the other alternative proposals to CSS could do. Mm-hmm. And what I'm seeing when I look at something like this is the beginning of that sort of technique, right? Because this still has a lot of the advantages and not that much disadvantages. So I am pretty impressed with this. I think this could end up being big. Again, I'm not betting on React necessarily, but on the approach, on the basic idea. Yeah, I think this ends up being a thing.
I totally the way that React reads CSS. I'm hearing an echo.
George, we got hear me.
Is that for me?
Yeah.
I am doing my first React Native app, and I'm realizing there's just a lot of weird differences between that because it's an application framework, so it's not trying to render HTML, and even just the way that React has always done like styling, where instead of background dash color, it's background color, I don't know how much value it is to create these like subtle variations of CSS property names. I don't totally understand their choices.
Well, I mean, their choices are basically that it's hard to hyphenate in JavaScript object names. Like that's it. That was the choice that they're basing it on. Because you have to quote it if you hyphenate it, so you're actually adding a lot. You're adding 3 characters. That's the idea.
Gotcha. Would you? I like.
In addition, in addition, that there is precedent for that because that's what the properties are actually cased like in the DOM.
Oh, okay.
DOM CSS object. That's how their casing works. And then the reason they call it class name instead of class, well, because class is a reserved keyword.
Right. Figured that.
But my understanding is they tried to avoid that, but where there was any question, they went with the JavaScript interfaces for that stuff rather than the CSS interfaces. Which I get it. It's annoying, but I get it.
I guess I think that CSS is actually really good. I mean,
Well,
obviously it could have been Scheme or whatever. I don't know exactly what, but I actually think it's pretty good at like at least it seems like it's been able to mature in a way that like the features like the technology itself we haven't reached the limits of it. Things have just gotten like it was CSS2 was really stupid, but it's like if you're coming in to learning CSS and suddenly like you have Flexbox, there's all this stuff that you can do, right? That's like almost trivial, and I wouldn't throw out that. And I think that like the power, like if a new UI framework was going to take hold, that was going to be enough. You would have to use pretty much all the CSS conventions, and that's what I like about React Native. So they're using like Flex and all this other stuff. So they're actually making it easy for people to transition from.
So here's one thing that a CSS framework could bring to the table that would immediately render most of CSS pointless. Good scoping, like actual solid scoping where if you don't, like, because with CSS, if you're not careful, it's just going to be global. You pretty much never want that. And the reason it's like that is because the original idea behind CSS was, yeah, everything is global, and then people would actually have actual control over it.
What do you mean by scoping? Like I mean, Sass has variables, which is I don't know how much I like all these new functions, like writing functions within. But what do you mean by scoping? Like
I mean scoping of having styles apply to just a particular type of area of markup.
Right.
Not bits of style that are reusable between different areas of markup, like actual modules, the way that you actually want scoping to work in a real language. It would sure be swell if we could have some sanity there. How about the fact that nobody in the world knows how to organize their CSS files?
Oh yeah, there's so many. I'm glad someone said that because I every time I start a project where I have to use a lot of CSS, it's like there's a lot of decision fatigue for me personally. In like, okay, so I should like alphabetical, but unless it's like by position on the page, but that's very brittle because if I'm rearranging it, so it's like it can be exhausting just like that we haven't reached a consensus.
There's no one. Yeah, the fact that we haven't reached a consensus yet pretty much implies that there's something about it that makes it very difficult to make decisions on that. There are no good reasons available. So, that sort of thing would be great because we have some consensus on how to structure JavaScript. We have some consensus.
Some consensus.
Well, I mean, there's a couple different schools of thought.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, if you sat down on a file that was really pretty haphazard, like, anyone from any school of thought would be like, that's crap. Whereas if you sat down with a CSS file that was completely haphazard, it would you a while to realize that it wasn't meant to be that way.
It's also not easy to refactor CSS at all.
Yeah.
It's like refactoring JavaScript is so much easier, and there's not a lot of things on the web about refactoring CSS.
Yeah. So I do think. I mean, I don't think it's imminent, but I do think something will have to come along, and I really kind of like this the React Native approach kind of as a beginning of that. Because I don't think that just a CSS transpiler is enough. I think it would have to involve some information. I mean, again, going back to that history of it, one of the big reasons something like Diesel didn't take off was because one of the big reasons CSS won out was when it was implemented, you could style a page. You could start rendering the page right away, and then style it as you rendered it. You couldn't do that with Diesel because you could have instructions in Diesel that, like have it be this color depending on how many times this element appears on the page, which you can't really do properly if you haven't loaded the entire page yet. So at times of like slow internet loading times, that mattered a lot. Nowadays, we don't want to trigger our Angular app or React app until everything's loaded anyway. So it's not as big a deal. So I think bringing that back and bringing that ability to really program and do fancy things with that can be very, very cool.
I've had trouble just trying to integrate CSS into my React project. Specifically, like there's certain conventions that say that you should have if you're not going to use the styles feature, you should have a convention where you actually have a CSS file for every component, and that can get really hairy, and especially with like the way that IDEs work, like autocomplete stuff, it can be so you're like typing, and if your IDE isn't smart enough, you're gonna get all your CSS stuff in your job, like you're gonna get classes in your JavaScript. It's very easy to get confused. So this is the first time I actually, and I saw a talk about basically just using your React app, basically doing all the responsive stuff, and it actually is nice to just be able to move components around and feel like all your styles transfer. So I guess
interesting.
Yeah, as I'm dipping my feet into it, I'm starting to recognize that this actually is really easy because you're doing style, like you're dealing with style anyway, especially with stateless components. It's like there's no reason like that. Like your CSS is intimately connected with your JavaScript, right? Like there shouldn't really be a distinction there.
Yeah. Well, there's arguments against that as well, but yeah. So while we are talking about this, I was playing around with this React thing, the React Native Web yesterday, and I was hoping I could get YouTube Webpack users to tell me what is happening.
Magic is happening.
I feel like that would probably be the answer. I also started using Spacemacs, so that's.
Oh yeah, you've been talking about it. Why did you choose?
So what is this? What is this?
What is Spacemacs?
Yeah.
Stop sharing. Spacemacs is a Emacs configuration. It's a very, very heavy configuration that customizes it a lot. For one thing, it adds a lot of Vim stuff to Emacs. So Vim bindings, yeah, but even like Vim commands, right?
Like what about Emacs? Because I know Vim.
Yeah.
But I know some people who like Emacs, but I've never done any.
Emacs does a ton more.
Yeah, like I understand it does more and does other things. Like, give me an example. Give me something where it's just like this is just a quintessential Emacs awesomeness.
That's harder to do. Well, here's something that I like a lot, and actually this is something I even remember from when I tried to do Emacs a while ago. Here's every single command in Emacs, right?
Okay.
and with all fuzzy selecting and everything. So this is roughly the equivalent of Command P or Command Shift P in Sublime, right?
Okay.
But that's pretty cool, and it's all Lisp, and it's all got like this huge history of everything in the world being available behind it. Here's like, let's say. So, like, here's my configuration file. Let's say I want to see like what sort of variables I could set on a globally. Control H. So here is a full list of all variables that are available for. If I go in here.
Man, I just started using Vim more seriously, and I'm already like, you're already out hipstering me. It's like
Well,
two
and, like,
steps
look,
forward, one step back.
You can have like they actually can put forms in like these buffers, which is like all sorts of badassitude. Let's say this is a nice one. I do not remember how to split screen, but
That sucks.
yeah, I just don't remember how to do it. But this is kind of cool.
Do the same like command mode stuff, like colon vex or colon sex or whatever. Is that
Yeah, I mean, if you remind me how to do it
like does SpaceVax support that? That would be actually awesome. So in Vim, if you want to split the screen vertically, it's just vex, like capital VEX, so colon.
Well, what's it horizontally?
It's either colon SP or sex, SEX, which might be the best shortcut of
Where the heck? Okay. Well, let's see. I'm in here. So colon.
Yeah, capital S.
Capital S. Or
Yeah.
SEX?
No, capital SEX. There you go.
Yep.
Nope.
SP, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, that splits it.
Oh, there we go.
So this is kind of nice though. This is one Justin Barton showed me this the other day, and I really like this. So if I go in here, I can navigate buffers with J, K, L, semicolon. Go down a buffer. Actually, let me enable golden ratio so that you guys can see where I'm. Yeah. So now, as I dump buffers, the buffer I'm in will get larger, and the others will resize around it. So, and like, let's say I want to move buffers around. So I go, I can move, I press capital K, then they'll move it down to the bottom, or to the top, I guess. Right? It switches the locations of the buffers. So, all sorts of coolness with that. I do like that. There's a lot to learn. It's going to be a while while I'm trying to figure this out, but I do like it. I like it in the fact that it lets me get most things done, and it gives me a lot of faith that this is a more powerful tool than Vim is, and there's more potential. But I mean, I can't. I'm not like as productive as I am with Sublime yet, and I don't know a lot of the Emacs stuff. But I've only been playing around with it for a little bit.
You know what your problem is?
What?
You need a bigger beard.
Yeah.
Emacs
Hunter-
works better if you have a large beard.
Yeah.
And don't bathe.
Or
That's what I heard.
Like Hunter.
So Webpack.
Yeah, Webpack.
All right.
Loaders, config,
Yeah.
done.
Oh yeah. Let's. How do I? Let's see. Space PF. Webpack. There it is. Okay, so there's my Webpack config. I'm just grabbing it directly out of that React Native article.
Okay.
Now, and here's the thing that I find happening. Ooh, what? Ooh. Oh, that's not good. that could actually be why. This is just stuck. And close node. I don't like that at all. Okay. No, that's not it. That's Vim.
There's an interesting alias.
What?
There's an interesting alias in that web pack.
Yeah, so that was from the Smashing article. They recommended that. So because
here's why, because to me it ended up actually being confusing.
Yeah, it's because I use the React Native generator to generate the application, right? So if
and so you're tricking the generator.
Yeah. So I mean, let me show you what this looks like.
Okay, picking out what's been put down.
Yeah. So I mean, like it has the index.android, index.ios, and all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now I'm trying to do.
I kind of feel like this isn't a good idea. Like, it can't be that hard to wire it up manually versus.
I don't know. Yeah, sure. But
the overhead of having all the other mobile things just seems like you're asking for Phil.
I mean, I'm just trying to follow along with the Smashing article.
Right.
You might go through their GitHub. Their basic use cases are certainly simpler.
Yeah, exactly. When I was looking at that, I was like, oh, this doesn't look that hard.
Yeah. So I do, and then I run into this Webpack issue, which says React Native Web Dist, basically this file, tries to resolve module React prop type secret. As far as I've been able to find, that's not a thing. React.
You haven't been able to find that. Oh yes, so I think you might have flow control. Have you tried to? You have to. This might help. That there's some issues with flow, and like flow is enabled by default in certain like scaffolding
flow like
packages.
React, like the
I forget. It's like disable.
This doesn't say anything about flow.
Yeah. What's your Webpack config look like?
You think I can just navigate to it fast?
I heard Emacs is awesome. They have all these commands and stuff. I'm just the ultimate. I can be a good paired programming troll, just helping you out there.
Yeah.
So what's your package JSON look like? I'm looking forward to just seeing how it's loading up React.
Yeah.
And so forth.
Now hold on. Now I want.
Because maybe it's not sort of that property. Maybe it's just the fact that React is not being loaded up, and that just happens to be the first property that it's trying to get.
Now let's look up how to split buffers in Emacs. Well, I mean, I could do I just don't remember how to do it in Vim on the split them manually. Split them.
Yeah, I haven't actually used the Vim buffer feature ever. I've read that it's really powerful, but I just use a clipboard manager.
Window vertically. Perfect. Damn it, that's what I want.
Really? SP? That's not intuitive?
No, I'm saying split window horizontally is what I want. Okay. Okay. Alright, so in here and here said you want to open.
Yeah, the package JSON. Just see what it looks like.
Okay.
So we do have React being loaded.
Yeah. But that's the thing, that React prop type secret, that's not a file that I've been able to find as existing.
Like exist period?
Yeah, like I went.
How old is the article?
I was like, that's not a thing. Because I was like, that's a suspicious sounding file name.
Are you using the exact same package.json from the article?
I mean, yeah, pretty much. I mean, I created the.
I see Akash has answered this question when you Google it.
Oh, was there?
The issue occurs when a React Native app based on React Native 0.28 or older is upgraded to React Native 0.30 or newer without to update also the React package to at least 15.30. And so,
Yeah, you're at
so when you
0.2, so-
upgrade React to 15.3.
That's interesting because I didn't actually do, like, I just installed it from scratch. So all right, let's do this.
That's cool. How do you run commands in Vim?
It's a colon exclamation mark, I think, will do it.
Hmm.
I actually didn't know that because I don't use actually Vim. I just use Vim bindings usually.
Right.
So all right, see what happened there. Oh, well, that does look a lot better. And then can I actually load it then? Cool. It doesn't, work, but my title is showing up. That's good. Yeah, it doesn't load. It doesn't work because
Does Unpot reference a React Native web?
Yeah, but that's almost certainly like an error that I made.
Cool.
Index web. It certainly looks like it.
Oh, you misspelled React. It's Rect Native web. Spelled.
Ugh. Oops, I did. Yeah. React. So will this just rebuild? I'm not sure it will.
It should if it's Webpack and you're watching it.
Yeah, I don't think I did the watch part.
Okay. Well then just
Actually, tell me how to do the watch part.
I got it. It's
dash watch, I think.
Oh, is that okay?
package. It's like Webpack dash progress. Well, I can just paste the little clip, but that.
Like something.
But it's dash watch basically,
Okay.
like you said.
Right.
Yeah, let me double check. That's what I would think it was.
It is. I just checked.
Okay.
With my
my massive
You're-
Webpack knowledge.
you remember.
Nah, something else happened. Bad object. Ooh, that sounds.
Bad object. That's a bad object.
Justify. Oh, content. Oh man, just because that's a weird error to get if you. Oh, I see that. But that's kind of cool. So I misspelled
it. Yeah.
And saying here's what is valid. I
Right.
probably do a little fuzzy matching to narrow that down, but okay.
You listen to the Good Killers album, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. That's probably the worst one. But they are great.
Shut up, George. This is the best one.
I like the Killers a lot. All right. Failed to construct test. What? That's interesting.
For new, let's take a look how you're using it. Create element.
Using JSX, so that's on them.
Yeah, that's is wait up top is text. Is that text or test? Do you have in import?
I do. Wow. All right. Oh yeah, look at that. It worked.
Voila.
And I did it with SpaceMax.
Yeah. So just send an invoice to George.
That's a surge.
Time and materials.
I mean, that's fine. I
Did you
get
get your console log? That
What?
said totally ran.
Yeah, it did right here.
We did it.
Sweet.
Yeah. I do think I'd like. I don't know.
Update it and see if it live updates. Because it should, right?
It did. It did live update. I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think I should probably. Next step is to figure out how to not use stupid JSX all over the place.
Why?
Because it's annoying. Why would I want to use JSX? It looks. We spent decades trying to not use angle braces in HTML templates, and then we went back to them for some reason when you finally had language integrated support for not using them. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that people's gripes with HTML and XML is not 100% about their antipathy towards angle brackets.
It's not angle.
Not 100%. I love that. Like hedging that a little bit. That's good.
It's not, but I mean, like, everyone liked Jade. Everyone liked Hamel. Well, if you write React without JSX, it looks a lot like Jade and Hamel.
Why don't you rewrite JSX seriously with like curly brackets or something like that?
No, it's not with curly. Actually,
or just use parentheses so it looks like Lisp.
Or just use
but
React
I don't want
syntax, right?
closing tags. That's the thing. I don't want closing tags. I just want to use regular functions.
Yeah. I need to get an Elm speaker, and we'll just hack on Elm, dude.
I believe you could do. Let's see. I think I show how to do it. It's actually really easy. React Create Factory is where is React Create Factory? Yes, but it's from React. Okay. Where's it in React DOM? See, now there's no way to tell. That's annoying. Let's see. So if I do that, okay, cool. So there it is. So now all you have to do really is this. Let's view factory view. Now I should be able to go down here. View. Let's see. It would be like a regular function call. It would be style. Like that. What is happening? Stop indenting stuff. That looks correct, I think. Oh, no, it doesn't. So I think you just do
Styles.container?
Yeah. So it would just be I wouldn't need this. And so that could actually be cleared up. All right, let's see if this will work.
That's a lot of red.
Yeah,
Hey, Jason. Yeah, you have Jason.
It's giving you your.
Jason. Oh,
So is there a way to get that debug information? It's showing up like, so the compiler error is showing up in your browser.
Check this out. So see it worked. So I just needed to add a comma because now these are arguments being passed into that function. So let me do the same thing for text. It'll make more sense. So now. The style. Okay, so we do that. Okay.
So you have instance of instead of instructions.
What?
Your style.
Yeah. Oh, well, I never wrote that anyway. That's why. That's why it didn't autocomplete correctly. So now, if I do that, now,
Yeah, don't you need the
yeah, I missed.
braces around them?
But this would actually work really nicely because what would happen in reality, right? I would have each of these probably broken out into their own components, and in that component scope, I would have just a variable named style, and then you could use just simplified object construction to get this working. And I did have to.
So what's up?
Oh, I didn't save it because Command S doesn't work. All right, type should not be no. Ooh, that is because I did something wrong. Yes, right here. There we go. And I mean, like, this looks nice. It's less code. It reads nicer. It looks like a templating language. And yeah, the style stuff, but that can be cleaned up, like I said, with that could be,
yeah, right.
so that's why I prefer this stuff. And I mean, like, what you do is you just have another file that grabs everything you're going to reference, and then run all of it through Create Factory, and then you just only reference those things.
I guess I have a question. If I wanted to add, say, a child component to text, for example, like what would you do?
It's so basically everything beyond. So the first parameter, this guy right here, that's going to be all the attributes that you would put in the JSX, and then everything else. It could be an array, or it could just be just more stuff.
So if you wanted to add another component, like another component.
Yeah, well, actually, no. So this exact here, that's exactly what Vue is doing, right? Text. There were two text blocks inside of it. There's two parameters, right?
Okay, so you would actually have to add. Okay, so you would add another parameter. You would add a comma at the end of tester. If you wanted to say, if you wanted to turn text into, you wanted to make a child component of text. So if you wanted text to be the parent.
I would do another thing and do like boom.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, like,
kind of see how it looks as you get more nesting. I'm just.
Oh yeah, but you get more nesting in HTML also.
I think also that'd be a good pain point. If you're getting a lot of nesting, maybe there's a way to unnest it, like maybe another component or whatever.
Yeah, make it into a component. I mean, that's the exact same issue as you get with HTML.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And it also depends too, like, so I would say with this stuff, I've gone increasingly where at first I thought the way Bourbon SaaS did their responsiveness was kind of crazy, but now I'm more and more on that side where I don't care for. It's not like I don't like grid frameworks; they're fine, it's good. But I think more and more that semantic web and then use your CSS to do the responsive stuff is more what I think ends up being a better solution. And the reason why is I've yet to have where I've used Bootstrap or name your grid framework or whatever, semantic UI. I'm trying to remember the other ones, but I've tried, and they're like, okay, we need to make this look good on the mobile device. I've yet to be where it's like, oh, ta-da, it looks great. You know, like I end up making responsive media queries anyway, and having to change all sorts of stuff, and I start thinking, why did I do this? And this is like, what is this gaining me versus
fighting?
Yeah, versus if I just recognize, hey, when you make it responsive, it's a thing. It's going to take time. I have yet to see where it magically happens.
Yep. All right, we are over time.
Yeah, we are over time. All right, it was fun. Good chatting with you, and everything's good. Google Hangouts Air is going to go away. I started taking a look at YouTube Live, and actually, I think it's actually going to be a good thing. And so I'll talk with you all about it and share what I was clicking around as we were going through stuff. I think it's good. So we'll start moving over to that. I think next week's will be on YouTube Live.
Sure.
Okay, cool.
All right, later, guys.
All right.
Bye.